the session is going to be recorded. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating on our first Autodesk Eagle webinar, in which we'll be demonstrating the new capabilities of the actual product. Any questions, go ahead and post them on the chat group, and we'll address them immediately. Jorge Garcia and Matt Berggren are manning our chats, so any questions, go ahead and post them there. Now, some things that we want to talk about this latest version of Eagle, okay, is we now have a different, the icons have been slightly modified. When I mean modified is that mainly the contrast of the icons have been enhanced greatly. That way they're visually a little more appealing, okay? So, and they've been slightly regrouped. That way your design flow just makes a little bit more sense. So they're grouped in a particular logical manner. That way your design experience is a little better. Okay, so that takes care of interface enhancements. Now, let's go ahead and talk about our new one, which is called the group command. Now, this was an existing command that Eagle already had, but we've actually added some steroids to it. So I'm just going to do a couple of demonstrations in regards of this. Now, first of all, under your options set, if you go to the miscellaneous tab, you'll now notice that you have now a group option available. Okay, so the group option by default is going to come up every time you start. Unless you deselect this option, every time that you're idle during your Eagle session, the group command will automatically activate. So since I'm currently inactive, you'll notice here my group icon, which is actually a new icon, is actually selected. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here on this group. And now I have a couple modes I could use, like my group. If I click and drag, my group is selected. And you notice that my group has been selected. I didn't have to really click anything, and the group command was automatically there. Now, if I wish to add or deselect from this group, I'm going to press and hold the control button. That way now I am deselecting items from my group. I'll zoom in some more. I'm going to go a little slow because I know that the refresh rate in certain areas around the world has to refresh. That way you could catch up with my screen. Okay, so I'm pressing and holding the control button, okay, and I'll go ahead and deselect some more items. Okay, so now I've deselected these components here on the left-hand side of my component. Now, let's say I want to go ahead and I want to move this group. In the past, besides creating the group, you would have to activate the move command and kind of right-click and so forth. Now, with this new group option, now you are able to, place your mouse cursor on one of the items in the group. My preference is on the origin of a component and do a left click and hold. Now that group move in its entirety. Okay. So by doing this, by doing the group command in this fashion, save quite a bit of mouse clicks and make it logical. Now, even though if I've already moved it, I could press and hold the control button, and I could keep on deselecting or adding components to my existing group as well. Okay. Now the other thing that we did with the group command is now you can use the delete command, the delete button on your keyboard. So if my group has been defined, when I left click anywhere inside when I click anywhere in the drawing area, my selected group cancels out, just to let you know. So if you need to start again, you could either press the escape key or click anywhere outside of the group. Now I'll go ahead and define my group again. You'll notice that my components highlight. If I press the delete button, now it disappears. In the past, we would have to go ahead and click on the trash bin, and do a right click and select delete group. Okay, so I'll go ahead and recover that group as well. Okay, now there will be instances when you want group, but you're in a particular area, which is kind of critical. In other words, there's many intersections going on. I'll go ahead and perform this at the board level, which is the most common area that this may occur. Now, here we have just a particular area, which if I want to add or remove a particular item to a group here, might be a little difficult because you have many things going on top of each other. The group command is still active. Now what you're going to go ahead and do is that you're going to press and hold the Alt key, and this is going to allow you to cycle select which item you wish to add to this group. Okay, so I could press and hold the Alt key, and you notice the way it's cycle selecting. Now, if that's the item that I wish to use, I could let go of the Alt key, press the Control button, and go ahead and keep on adding to my group as well. Okay? So this summarizes basically the enhancements that we have done to the group command. Since we only have 30 minutes, I want to go ahead and move on to some other options that we have. Now, following this is a brand new command, which is called the slice command. The slice command gives you the ability to slice a trace or multiple traces according to a defined gap that you can control. So let me click on the slice icon, which is the new icon for slice. Here, you're going to do one single left mouse click for the starting point, and a right click and another left mouse click to end it. You'll notice that the gap got created, and the gap that got created is based on the width that I have selected here. You have a menu selection, which you could choose for, or you could go ahead and type in the value that you wish to use. I can define another gap, another slice here. Now, one of the nice benefits is that I could do only one trace, so I could do multiple traces. So I'll go in this area right here, which I've predetermined here. I still have the slice command active. I'll go ahead and select all these traces here. And you'll notice that a 20 mil gap has been created. But the nice thing is that the connection remains. So the signal connection has remained, so it doesn't delete it as well. Now, since we're here, I want to go ahead and use the group command. And I'm going to go ahead and select a group here, for example. And if I hit the delete button now, you'll notice that all of my traces within my group have turned into air wires. In the past, you would have to do click on the rip up command, come and do a right click within your group to rip it up. Now you could just hit the delete command. If it's an actual valid connection that came over from the schematic, it only turns into an air wire at this time. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move back to the schematic now. Okay. On the schematic, there were instances where we would have some problems with connecting to a pin. If components had been placed slightly off grid, there was a good chance that when you were running your nets, it was difficult to connect to it. So you'd move on to the board and connects were not there. With this version of Eagle, that has now been solved because it has pin snapping. So when I activate the net command, it will automatically, my nets will automatically, let me zoom in a little bit, snap to the connecting pin. Okay. So if you could see now, I get an affirmation circle, green circle, saying this is the connect of this pin. I'm going to go ahead and enable the grid just to be able to, that way you can notice that I am slightly off grid, but the connecting is actually occurring. Okay. In our previous versions of Eagle, if you tried this, there was no way you could connect to it. You would have to do a couple of steps to put it on grid. That way the connection would actually create a valid connection. Now I'm going to go ahead and run my net. And when I run my net to the next pin, of course, I get the snap there as well. Okay. So regardless if you're on grid or off grid, now your connections are, you have confirmation that the connections actually will be part of the netlist, which by then will be part of the board layout as well. Now, one of the really nice features that have been now added to Eagle is called Design Block. This is something brand new, quite innovative. Users will be able to take advantage of the design blocks, and we will be adding a lot more design block options to our current selection that we have. So let me show you a little bit how it works. There's two modes for design blocks. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and turn off the grid. There's too much information currently active right now. Okay, now there's two modes for design blocks. If I click here on the down menu that says File, and I click here where it says Design Block, it actually allows me to save the entire schematic as well as an entire board as a design block. Maybe you might create your simple schematic with a board with a particular application, design application you wish to use, and save that as a design block. That way you could reuse this at a later time with a future design or within the same design. Okay, so this is the easy one when you're going to save the entire design as a design block. Now here comes this feature that is really a great enhancement. We're going to take a selection of the schematic and turn that selection into a design block. So I'll click here where it says File, and here says Save Selection Design Block. Okay, I'm being asked to slow down a little bit. That way the screen refreshes as we go. Okay, now what I did was I click on File, I click on Save Selection and Design Block. And I'm going to go ahead and select right here this little driver that we have here. I'm going to do a left mouse click and drag. Now I've selected this small portion of the schematic to be part of my design block. If I follow the prompts that appear on the bottom of my screen, it's indicating that I could do a control right, hit the control button, do a right mouse click. That way now I could select the board layout portion that is going to be part of this design block. So I'm going to press and hold the control button and do a right mouse click. This takes me over to the board layout. Is actually the component or the set of components that I have highlighted from the schematic. Let me go ahead and zoom in this section. Now right now, the only selection that is available is the components design block. If I wish to add traces to my design block, I'm going to go ahead and click and hold the control button. Let me zoom in some more. Press and hold the control button, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight a few traces which I want them to belong part of my design block. If I follow my prompts, if I want to finish my interaction, I do a press and hold the control button and do a right to finish my selection and define my design block. I'm going to go ahead and do a right mouse click anywhere, usually like using the origin of one of the components within the design block. I'm going to do a right click, and now the design block dialog box shows up. You can use simple HTML commands to go ahead and create your description. I will give it a name. Also, you could actually also assign it attributes. It's a really good idea to assign attributes because it's going to make it that much easier for you to find the part once, or the design block, once you have a large collection of design blocks, or you download design blocks, or design blocks are added Eagle as time goes by. So this makes it easier for you by defining an attribute and a value to that attribute to find the parts that you wish to use. Of course, the attributes automatically go ahead and show up here on the attribute screen. Okay. Now, if you wish to add a design block to your existing design, the icon is right here. It's called Add Design Block. I have a couple paths defined, but this is actually our default path right here. And as I highlight them, I'll be able to see the different design blocks that we have available at this time. Now, it's possible to have a design block only. It's actually possible to have a board, okay? And it's possible to have a combination, as we just demonstrated, of the schematic as well as the board. So that takes care of our demonstration in regards of design blocks. Okay. Second. Trying to keep this under 30 minutes, so trying my best to be as efficient as possible. Now, the next thing we want to show is do a small demonstration in regards of the BGA fan out. Okay, so let me go back to the board. Here I have a small BGA which I actually am going to be using for demonstration. Okay, now for sake of this demonstration, I've already preset my DCs because I want to be able to use micro BIAs as well this small setup that I have here as well. Now, how do we start the process of a BGA fan out? The new icon that has been assigned is right here on the bottom of the screen. You see it says BGA out order. So I'll click on that. The first thing it's going to ask me, it's going to give me a list of the components. And when I find my actual BGA that I wish to use, you click here on this arrow, and it will move it to the BGA column. By default, it's not going to identify it, so you need to be able to identify the BGAs as well. Once I've selected my BGAs, I'll go ahead and click here where it says Edit BGA. By default, behave with that particular connection. Do you want it to go from the top layer to the bottom layer? Do you want it to go from the top layer to one of the internal layers? So here you could actually do it for each signal independently, or if you go ahead and select them all, and I click on Edit, I'll be able to select my environment for all of them. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click OK. I'm I'm gonna only use layers going from the top layer, and they'll have access to the layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4 as well. Okay, so I'll click OK, and I'll go ahead and click OK and let it start. It has to set up the environment. Now remember, the numbers that you're getting on the percentages is going to be mainly in regards of the percentage of connections that exist on the board. Okay, so just because it doesn't say 100% at the end doesn't mean it did not work. It just means that that's the percentage of all of the connections that exist within that particular design have been routed. Okay, so we'll just give it another minute. I'm seeing a lot of activity within the chat group. Just want to thank everybody for your participation. It's been a great turnout. Thank you very much. Click on routed. And here's our BGA fan out. It's already done. So for a simple component, and I gave it many layer options, so it was actually be able to finish pretty fast. So if you could see here are my BGA via, my micro vias have been created. It's using multiple layers, and basically, in essence, what it did is that it did a fan out. In other words, it took all of the connections that were within the BGA itself, and it fan it out. That way, now you could continue either manually routing the remainder of the BGA to the targets that it needs to go to, or you could go ahead and use the outer router again, and it will go ahead and complete the board as well. Okay, so this was a small demonstration in regards of the BGA fan out router. Now we'll go ahead and the last thing I want to demonstrate here is the new route command. Okay. Well, it's actually not a new route command. It's an existing route command, but we have a great enhanced this this command as well. So let me just go ahead and turn on my unrouted layers as well. Now, the behavior of the route command is exactly the same behavior it had, but we've added some really nice options to it as well. Okay, so here really quick. That way I can show you the different options that we have for the route command. The route command, I'll work on a 10 mil wire width, which I think I already have it set up. I do not. Let me go ahead and work on a 10 mil wire width. Now, if you start routing, I'll start routing at this point right here. I'll zoom in some more and I'll wait for the screen to refresh. That way you could see. Now, first thing is, when I add out command, you'll notice that I'm getting a confirmation with that white X that that's actually the connecting point. Okay, so it's just a confirmation, and we didn't have that. It would snap to it, but besides snapping to it, now you actually get a confirmation as well. Okay, now if let me zoom out a little bit. If I begin to route this, and let's say I start making segments here. I've created 3 segments, but let's say that's not the path I wanted to follow. You could actually press the backspace button, and it will backspace to the last segment. If I continue hitting the backspace, it will continue going back as well. Okay, so if you're going one way, and the path that you were following was not really the asserted one that you wanted to use, instead of having to go back and use the rip up command to rip up that trace is no longer necessary. You just hit the backspace command. Okay, so this would make the manual route quite efficient as well. The other nice enhancements is when you're switching layers. If you're going to switch layers, I'm going to go ahead and use the I could, in the past, kind of like here, do a single mouse click, go up to the toolbar, or actually it still works. I could use my center mouse button, hit switch layers now. But I don't know if you've been using Eagle, you'll notice that in the past, the via would not appear until my route was finished. In this version of Eagle, the via automatically now appears and it's attached to my mouse cursor. So now I don't have to commit where the via is. I'll have a real view of where my via will appear. Okay, so I'll go ahead and place this via here as part of this example. And now I'm routing to the bottom layer. But now, if you don't want to use a center mouse button, let's say you're working on a trackpad, and center mouse button is not that easy to actually reach, then what you could do is hit the space bar. If you hit the space bar, please notice here on my status bar, the layer select is going to. So if I just keep on hitting space bar, it will give me different layer selections. And it's going to go in order. It's going to go 1, 2, 3. So it'll go from the top of your list to the bottom of your list. Now, if I hit the shift key, if I press the shift key and hold, and now I hit the space bar, look what happens on the status bar right here. If I'm pressing the shift key and I press the space bar, and then I could actually select. It will go through the same layer selection, but in reverse. So it'll start from the bottom layer and make its way in reverse as well. So if you're working with a design that maybe has 16 layers or 8 layers, instead of having to go always in one order, you could go in either order now as well. Now, go ahead and place here, and let me just find a scenario. Now, there's 2 new icons here that you can notice here. One stands for looping is available, and this one is to remove loops as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I still have the route command active, and this was not possible. I could go ahead and start at any trace. I'll just have the loop on here. I could start anywhere in my design. I could click here, and I could, using different wire styles, and I could go ahead and create a loop for design. Okay. Now, with loop removal available, I'll now go ahead and click the route command, which is still active, and I can now run my route, and you'll notice that the looping now has been eliminated. So if you have multiple traces in which you actually want to remove the loops, or you want it to be in a different direction, you could have loop off, and I could go here. Let's say, for example, oops, I'm sorry about that. And I want to go all the way over here for disconnection. Instead of stopping here, instead of moving it, I could go ahead and route. As you could see, you'll notice the white X letting me know that the position that I am is affirmative, and I could actually go to that point. And if you could see, the loop has been removed as well. Okay. Just looking over my notes to make sure that I've covered all of the features, and in essence, that really covers all of the brand new features, which are quite impressive in regards of the short time span since the release of version 7.7 to version 8. Brand new things are going to be added shortly. We're going to be adding a lot more features. We're going to be adding soon. We're going to be adding the standard edition of Eagle is going to now have 4 layers. Initial release had 2 layers, but the next release, which is coming out shortly, is going to have 4 layers. Okay. Well, this concludes our demonstration. So if there's anything, Jorge, is there anything that maybe needs to be addressed? This concludes this demonstration. Thank you for participating in this demonstration. Remember, this is we are now part of the Autodesk Eagle, a part of the Autodesk lineup of products. Brand new things are going to be added. really soon, so stay in tune. And we're now going to go ahead and start a series of webinars in which we'll be doing demonstrations of different areas of Eagle and how do we take advantage of these new features as well. Okay. I see a question in regards of reuse. So we did the demonstration in regards of a design blocks. You could use that. Remember, there's you have two options when it comes to design blocks. You have two options under the file menu. Let me go back to the schematic. But you could actually do it here as well. You have the save design block. If you save the design block, that saves the entire design as well traces and connections and lets you save it as a design block. And now you could reuse that entire design in another one as well. Now you could also use only a part of the design. So let me go back to the schematic. I'll give it a second to refresh. And let's say, as we already explained, the group command is active, and I want to just take a portion of the schematic and turn it into a design block. I could click and drag, create a group, or I could just start defining my group. So here we go. Just create my group surrounding some of the components that I wish to use. If I do a right mouse click, it automatically finishes my group, and everything that you see highlighted is now part of my group. Now I would be able to do a control shift. A control button and do the right mouse click. I forgot. I got to do save selection as design block. I start my design block here. Now I would be able to start selecting traces. It's kind of a large one. So for sake of timing, I'm not going to go ahead, but I could start now selecting the different traces that of these highlighted components, which are part of the design block. I'm going to press and hold the control button and do a right mouse click on the origin one of those. And now this is my design block. So you could use this as design reuse. Okay. Very well. Okay, so this concludes, and thank you for participating on this latest demonstration. We hope to have many more in the near future, so keep track of it. We'll go ahead and let you know what's going on. Any questions on the chat, George, maybe I should address or answer in this demonstration? Okay, it seems everything is good. The meeting has been recorded. It will be made available to the public soon. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being here, and have a great day. And keep in touch with us. Some really nice, exciting things are about to be done. Okay. Thank you, and have a great day.